Hi everybody, my name is Justine and I'm the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Manager here at the University of Sunderland. And today we are talking about Black History Month. October marks Black History Month and it's a time to celebrate and a time to learn and understand Black history and culture. And I would like to introduce the three people that are with me today to have this conversation. Irish, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, so my name is Irish and I am the current Equality and Diversity Officer here at the Students' Union at the University of Sunderland. Yeah.
Evelyn?
Yes, I am Chinwendu Evelyn Uchimark, an MSc in Public Health student here at the University of Sunderland and also the Nigerian Students' Society President here at the University of Sunderland.
Welcome. And Folashade?
Yeah, my name is Folashade Fasoiro. I just graduated from the Department of Childhood and Youth Studies, and I also have a family group I've been running for international students who have come in from Nigeria.
Looking forward to a really good conversation. And Irish, I'd like to start with you. Why is it important that we do celebrate Black History Month?
Well, I think it's important that Black History Month is celebrated because it unfolds and teaches everyone new things about the history and culture that Black people have contributed to, like the development of so many things in the world. I think yesterday we were seeing this movie, Hidden Figures, and I mean, it might be common knowledge to loads of people, but that was the first time I actually realized that an African American woman contributed so massively to sending someone out of space, and her contribution just changed NASA. And like yesterday there was no one in space, and like today they've sent goodness knows how many people have gone to space. So I think the discovery of teaching white people, Asians, Black people that your ancestors have done so many wonderful things and achieved so many beautiful goals. It is just exciting and honestly incredible for us to know and discover like the beauty of Black history. Yes, so that is why I think it should be celebrated, for us to dive into the beauty of the contribution of Black historical figures to basically history.
That's absolutely wonderful. It's one of my favourite films, and there's a lot of moments in that still stick with me. But as you say, it's the surprise at a Black Afro-Caribbean person having such an impact. And certainly I got to the age of 50 and I didn't know that. So you're right, it's about sharing and making people aware of the contribution that people have had, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Evelyn, what about you? What's your thoughts on why it's important to celebrate this period?
Well, it's really important because Blacks have literally contributed to everything. I think it's quite sad that most people do not know the great things that Blacks have done and how much they've contributed to the growth of the country, the progress, the evolution of, every aspect of life. You talk about in the economy, you will see Black contribution. You talk about socially, you will see Black contribution. Talk about entertainment, you will see Black contribution. Talk about discoveries, you will definitely see Black contribution. I feel like this is really important to let this generation and future generations understand that Blacks are key to whatever they can see and what they will yet see. Most times what people tend to know about Blacks are the negative parts, the negative, contributions by, unfortunate things that have happened, and then the racist experiences. The negative profiling are things that people seem to know about, which is quite unfortunate because there's a whole lot more positivity that comes from the Black race, that comes from Black history. So the celebration of Black history is very important. And I also think it's key for Black history celebration to be, added to school curriculums. People need to know that Blacks contributed immensely. Let Black folks begin to have a better vision of themselves, have better confidence, understand that they matter a lot in the scheme of things. So celebrating Black history it can't be overemphasized. It's really important and it should be encouraged and taken even further than it already is.
Yes, definitely.
Very strong statement there, actually. And I would like to come back to something that you've mentioned there, which is about representation, positive representation. So I'll come back to that. But I'd like, Folashade, if you'd like to give us some information on what your thoughts, why it's important we celebrate Black History Month.
First of all, I feel strongly, personally, that Black History Month cannot be overemphasized. And that is because through my own personal research, I found out we've moved over from colonialism, we've moved from slavery, and then we've now institutionalized racism. And it's all over, the footprint is all over. Unfortunately, it's even all over Africa, so it's not just here, or it's not just in other parts of the world. So Black History Month is important to keep the conversation going, to keep it rolling, to keep the awareness going, and to help every community to identify and see the benefits of actually seeing other people as humans, not just as a race or an entity. Because critically, if we're looking at things, like, there is no race in every aspect of which we look at race, that there's no bad and good eggs. Like, every race have got something bad or something good. So the same perception has to be given to the Black race. And another thing that is very important for Black History Month to be celebrated is for there to be the conversation rolling also about the representation, because this is how it works. If you do not understand what I have gone through, you will not be able to proffer solutions to my problem. Yeah. And that is why in every fair, in every sphere, in every organization, experience, in whichever part of the world, if you have no experience, you cannot in any way carry out a particular task or duty. And that's why people have been sent on training. That's why all these things are going on. So the same reflection should be on Black History Month and Black people. Like, in every organization, there should be a representation who understands, who can feel, who knows what the solutions are, and can in time implement it. So every institution should come into cognizance of that they need people to be a representation when it's time to make decisions, because these decisions actually affect the people that decisions are being made about, and they need people who are there to also make these decisions and who understand the impact of these decisions.
Such an important message there. And I'll come back to, if I can, you mentioned about the conversation, and I'd like to come back to that, because I do know that a lot of people feel uncomfortable actually starting that conversation. So maybe we could come back to that. But I'd like to come back to Irish and Evelyn. You both talked there about the importance of representation and positive role models. Why is it important that there is representation?
Well, I think, first thing, I think that 1 month to celebrate Black culture is just not enough. I think every day should be a celebration. And so we have, would I say opportunity? But we have this opportunity to celebrate this 31 days of the greatness of the Black community. And I think all of the past representations that we've gotten, Martin Luther, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, and every other person that has paved way, they've represented the coming generation. And that is why I think representation is so important, because if they didn't stand there, if they were not that symbol of leadership, that symbol of, well, I did it first, then I don't think we would, like, our culture would be as appreciated, because that first person that has, well, come out and, like, we speak about within the university, Nigerian Society President, Equality and Diversity. We've got black people or black students taking a stand in the students' union. And I think that representation will give other black students, well, the courage to come forward, and that basically like shapes, or like, yeah, definitely shapes the generation and the mindset of everyone coming forward. So that representation basically is a change for tomorrow, for the future, for the present actually. So that is why I think representation, I feel like I've spoken too much, but that is why I feel representation is like so important.
It's because you're passionate about it. Evelyn, do you have anything else that you want to add to that?
In addition to what she has said, you know, there's that confidence you get when you see that this person looks like me. If she can do this, I can do it. If he can do this, I can do it. You know, and then I think another reservation I have about, you know, tagging people, white people, black people, I feel like it also brings a segregation. We are all humans. Let's all just call ourselves amazing, intelligent, resourceful, hardworking people, without necessarily tagging, oh, she's black, she's white, she's pink, she's red.
Pink.
We need to stop describing people by the color of their skin. And it's also very important that in every institution, just like what Folashade said, if there are no color representation in every office, in every institution, then something is wrong. We need to start including everyone. We need to start ensuring that we're bringing people. When we come into an institution, an office, we need to see diverse ethnicities. We need to see diverse cultures. We need to see diverse colors, in quotes, like we like to, you know, describe them. So representation is very important, because when people come into a place and they do not see people who look like them, already unconsciously their self-esteem is being affected. Their confidence is already being, you know, negatively impacted. So we need to endeavor, as we celebrate Black History Month, like she said, it really needs to be an everyday celebration, you know. Everyone needs to know that we are all the same. We all have something to offer, and we should not be restricted by the color of our skin. Let's see people who look like us, who understand us, who have been like us, who know the struggle, who understand where we're coming from in the institution and in every office and in every environment. And I think that will make a whole lot of difference.
Yes, definitely.
Fantastic, clear message. Thank you. Folashade, I remember when you spoke at the beginning, you talked about the conversation and representation, because I can't understand how it feels to be black. But I do know that a lot of staff are really quite cautious, scared about actually having or starting that conversation. So can you give any advice to people about starting those conversations who do perhaps want to understand and learn more, but maybe are nervous about offending or saying the wrong thing? Is there anything that you can help with that?
Okay, so first of all, I'll start with an experience that I've had. Yeah, so I've been working as a TA, as a teaching assistant in the Northeast for a couple of months. And at some point, when I started, in most schools I go into, I'm the only black. Both teaching staffs, both students. And I've had it both sides, and I definitely understand. I had never before then actually come into self-realization of the color of my skin.
Of course.
Yes, and it was quite very obvious. So this is the advice I have for those who may be in a position to want to help, who are willing to have this conversation going, is to add a segment of whatever they're teaching, whatever office they're holding, to have this consideration. Is like having a half brain, sort of like you're thinking, what's good for this person, what's good for this person, is having a collective consideration of what everyone might need. For example, in a let's say a secondary school, a primary school, they're celebrating, what they celebrate? Let's say Space Week.
Oh yeah, World Book Day or something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
World Book Day. World Book Day doesn't have to be just talking about just a particular race. It can be flicked. It can pick. Okay, we've got 5 different ethnic groups in this class.
Yeah.
So what book day can hold different authors, and their pictures will be shared around the class.
Yeah.
Automatically, that creates a semblance of feeling part and among. Then also, she mentioned something about seeing somebody like you. So I had a meeting recently on campus, and while I was sitting in the middle of Prospect, I had several Nigerian students walk up to me and ask questions. So at the end of the meeting, the person I was having a meeting with was shocked to find out I didn't know them. So they walked up to me because they saw I looked like them, and they probably just, oh, she looks like she's been here a while. So that's where peer support comes in. That's where these things have to be built. It's something that has to be conscious about. It's nothing to be uncomfortable about, because it's just a mindset. If you really look at it, because it's just a mindset when you feel, oh, Sunderland FC is going to win the game, and the other team wins. You're going in with that mindset that Sunderland FC is going to win, and they probably didn't win, or they won, whichever way, whichever the conversation is, whatever the conversation is based on the players. So the same thing goes with how we deal with the issues around blacks. It's just a mindset. Just look at it. It's just for people in position to just look at what was good for me. What will I want? Because everything is normal. Everything seems okay, but it isn't. It just looks normal on the surface. So if there is no representation, so it's for those who are in power to create that representation. It's not going to like just jump on somebody. It's not going to jump on those who need the representation. It's those in power who are going to create that representation. Yeah.
Just to add to what she said, to get the conversation rolling, I would also advise for people in positions and who would like to know exactly, to bring about change, I would suggest bring in the black people and sit with them and ask them genuinely, what do you need? What are you going through? What would you want us to know? Bring us into what you are experiencing. Let's know what you're experiencing. Let's know how you're seeing things. Let's see through your own lens. Let's understand your pain. So unless you bring us in to have these conversations, you will not understand what it is we are going through. So there needs to be that space in every institution or, university situation like this. Bring the blacks in and have the conversation with them. When you listen to them, you would understand better and you would feel more comfortable because you're listening. You're not more like doing the talking. You're listening to be in their shoes and understand. That's what I think.
A perfect example of what she has said. So when I started off the family group, there was someone who was going through so much and obviously needed to talk to Wellbeing. So I told him, you need to call Wellbeing, the school Wellbeing, just have a conversation, just talk to somebody. And he has claimed and said, no way. The university is going to have my name down like I need psychological aid or help, like they're going to think I'm crazy or something. So there is the issue of there are all kinds of barriers.
Yeah.
And it takes getting to understand this, willingness to understand this. So an international student comes in and they don't understand what Wellbeing stands for. And the school is assuming they should use Wellbeing.
Yeah.
But the gap is there.
That's such a good example.
And it's just a step.
Yeah,
just
understanding the cultural differences.
Yeah. There's so many things that we could talk about in this short podcast. And I wish we had double the time. But I'd like to bring us on to the final question, Irish. So we've talked about representation, actually, and positive role models. So who has inspired you?
I want to say my mom, but that might make my dad a bit jealous. I think I'm going to say Oprah Winfrey. I think when I was little, I used to watch Drake and Josh. And Josh absolutely loved Oprah. And I thought Oprah was a white woman. And it was really sad for me to, because I think it was just like the impact that she made and how, oh my gosh, opera. And I was like, when I found that she was a black person, I was like, I cannot believe that I didn't think that a black person can pave such way and like be so inspirational. Because she went and she did what, like, she just created opportunities for herself, and not just in the context of being a black person, in the context of being a black woman, which I would just say is like double homicide. Because, well, one thing is being a black person, and then another thing is being a black woman.
Yes.
And she managed to just make that difference for herself and just build up so much respect and recognition that I want to believe that a lot of people would hear Oprah Winfrey's name and would go, yes, that woman is wonderful. She is fabulous. And I think when I do this myself, like you were saying about being the only black person, and I go to like law dinners and networking events, and when I text my friends and I'm like, look for the only black person in the room. But I feel like those moments, those things that we do inspire someone else. I was on the metro and like one of my friends was like, Irish, you are such an inspiration to me. And you wouldn't realize the difference you're making in people's lives until you hear it for yourself. And I feel like she is what I'm trying to, like, that is, well, she and my mom is what I'm aiming for, to be an inspirational figure for young black girls growing up, to look up and go, oh my gosh, there she is. I can do that. I can definitely like pave way for myself and get up there. And I feel like she's done that for me, and I'm definitely looking forward to do that for like younger generations growing up.
I love that. And you are going to be inspiring, there's no question.
Thank you.
Evelyn.
Yeah, so lots of black people inspire me. You know, when you look at the world today, there's black people everywhere doing great things in music, in politics, in sports, in the academia. You know, there's black people everywhere. So, but for the purpose of this discussion, I'll just, talk about Michelle Obama. Her story really inspires me, especially because you see someone who's come from the really, really lowest, position, someone who probably never thought she would ever be the first lady of the United States. And she was resilient. She worked hard, irrespective of her skin color. She gave her best and, gave her best to her studies, to her work, and just went way up the ladder to that point. Before she got there, I know that lots of us never thought that one day a black woman would be the first lady of the United States until she made it happen. And so now people can look at Michelle Obama and say, if she could do that, I will and I can do that. So she is a very influential person, and she did not just get there for the position. She got there and she made a change and still continues to make a change. She went there and she left an indelible mark. And those marks are still there. They are still speaking for her. Today, she's being celebrated all over the world, wherever she goes to, even in years to come. Whenever you mention the Obamas, that name would resound, positively with people because they left an indelible mark. She contributed so much to equality. She got in there and she came up with interventions to, work on obesity, sort out nutrition problems, education for the poor. She did a whole lot. And for me, I am all about influence. I am all about leaving a positive mark. I never go anywhere without trying to do something that makes people remember me and know that this person, she came, she saw, and she conquered. So that is my mantra, and that is why she's my inspirational person. Even in the University of Sunderland, to God be the glory, I'm also already leaving my mark with the Nigerian Student Society. And I believe that even after I leave here in a couple of months, people will always look back and say, oh, when she was Nigerian Student Society, she did this, she did that, she did that. So if she could do that, I can do it. Any other person can do it. we will not be limited by the color of our skin. We will go out there, leave an impact, leave a mark, and spread the influence of the black color.
I will definitely remember. Olashade.
Two people strike me. And one is Linda May Lindo. She's one of the politicians in Canada, and she actually became the first black woman to be in her position in Parliament. And she has over the years changed a lot of things. And I stumbled on her TED Talk video that was earlier this year when I was working on. So I had a project with one of my childhood programs, courses, and I wanted to lend a voice to equality and diversity. And I started to think, with my experience, how can I reflect how the mindset can start to change? So I reflected on going to nurseries to support teaching, primary schools and secondary schools. And I realized I had more heartwarming experience in nurseries and primary schools than I did in a secondary school. Actually, my first experience in a secondary school was so bad. So I wanted to reflect that in my essay. And so I looked into how equality and diversity can be introduced in early years education.
Yeah.
And so I went checking and online, because when I wanted to write an essay, I started by going to watch TED Talks. So I stumbled on her video, and it was captivating. Like, I watched it 3 times at the same spot, like seriously. And so I went checking on her and realized she's been doing so much. She has impacted the laws in Canada that relates to black people. She gives her full support. She has all kinds of programs going on just to get this conversation rolling. And she's actually my role model for having this conversation going. And that's where I get it from. Then the second person is someone I had met online. So when I was coming to the University of Sunderland, I was looking for representation, really. So last year, July, was when I decided with my husband we were coming down to the UK. And I was looking for representation. So I went checking. Initially, I applied for social work, but I've always known what I wanted to do. And I was switching careers. So, and I found her, Ola Tony Abbott. And then I also found her on LinkedIn. So we started exchanging messages. And she actually gave me, how do I put it? I've always been known to have this confidence. I've always been known to make the change. Everyone who has always known me have known me to make the change. But I was coming to a new place and I was getting scared. And I wasn't sure. And all the confidence I needed to start off, I owe it to her, because I probably would have taken the first 6 months trying to understand if it was okay to go ahead with my bold steps. But she gave me all the starting points I needed. So that is it about representation and the people who inspire me.
That is such a powerful message, and that's really impacted on me now. It's given me a lot of food for thought. I have really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you, Irish, Evelyn and Folashade. I could talk for so much longer, but I do need to bring it to an end. So thank you all very much for listening and watching. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast discussion on Black History Month. If you would like to have more information, then please do subscribe to the channel, and you will automatically be sent the next sessions that come along. Thank you all very much.